Okay, welcome back. This is Unit 3, Lesson 7, talking about formulas and functions today. Your one objective is to solve a literal equation, also known as a formula, for one of its variables. Okay, so let's get moving. So here's our first example. It says, use the formula for the area of a rectangle. Of course, we know that as area equals length times the width. Okay? Part A says to find the formula for L in terms of A and W. Okay? Well, what that means is right now, this formula is a formula for A, a formula for the area. And it's a formula for the area in terms of L and W, the length and the width. We want to rearrange it so it's a formula for L, so that we have L all by itself instead. Okay? So I'm going to start with my original formula. Now our goal, because we are finding a formula for L, is to get L all by itself. Well, this says area equals length times width. So how do we always get rid of times? Well, we've talked about this before. To get rid of times, we are going to divide. And we always divide by the same thing that's on the side of the variable we're trying to isolate. So we're trying to isolate L, so I'm going to divide by the thing that's on the same side. I'm going to divide by W on both sides. If I was writing a proof, I would write the division property of equality there. I'm dividing by the same thing on both sides. What happens is W divided by W cancels, and that gives me my L all alone. That's what I wanted. Okay? Well, A divided by W, I can't really do anything with that. It's not like numbers, okay, where I can say 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I'm just going to write it as A divided by W. Okay, and then of course, you know Mr. Ayers, he always likes your single variable on the left side, so I'm going to just flip this around. L equals, actually I'm going to write it up top a little bit, so otherwise I'm going to run out of some space. So L equals A divided by W. So what that's saying is you can find the length of a rectangle by taking its area divided by its width. Okay, so again, all we're doing is rearranging things pretty much. Now part B, oops, sorry, that was part A. So now part B says to use that new formula to find the length of a rectangle that has an area of 35 square feet and a width of 7 feet. So we're using the new formula, length equals area divided by width. And now we're just going to fill it in. Well, we're trying to find the length, okay, it tells us to find the length. A rectangle that has an area of 35 square feet. So we know the A, that's 35. And the width of 7 feet, we know the width, that's 7. So our length equals 35 divided by 7, so my length equals 5 feet. So a triangle with an area of 35 has a length of 5 feet. Okay, let's go on to another example. Alright, so this example says we're going to solve the temperature formula for F. Okay, the temperature formula, this means Celsius equals 5/9 times Fahrenheit minus 32 degrees. Okay, that's how you can always find Celsius temperature. That's the formula for finding Celsius temperature if you knew what Fahrenheit was. Now what we want to do, what they're telling us, is we want to find a formula for the Fahrenheit temperature, assuming we knew what Celsius was. So we want to get this F all by itself right here. So when we solve for F, that means we're trying to get F all alone. Okay? Well, it means I circled. I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite the formula here. By the way, on your assignment, make sure you're always writing down the formula first, as it looks. Okay, the given. As if we were doing the proofs. This is the given here. Well, first thing that we should do when we see something outside of parentheses, okay, is we should probably distribute that. So we're going to distribute this to both parts. Actually, sorry, first, Mr. Ayers skipped a step. We should change the change subtraction to addition first, correct? So we should do C equals 5/9 times F plus negative 32. Okay, now we can distribute. So I'm going to have C equals 5/9 times F plus 5/9 times negative 32. Okay, it's going to get kind of messy here, so we're going to do negative 32 over 1 times 5 over 9 Okay, and those don't really reduce very well, so we're just going to have to multiply it and leave it alone. Okay, so it's going to be negative 32 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10, and it's going to be negative 160 over 1 times 9 is 9. Okay, so I got plus negative 160 over 9. Okay, now we can do that trick that we've learned before where we multiply the whole thing by a common denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and take this whole equation and multiply it by 9. So remember, this distributes 9 times c, 9 times 5 ninths f, and 9 times negative 160 over 9. 9 times c is 9c. 9 times 5 ninths f gets rid of the bottom part. And we can multiply and get rid of the bottom there too. So now I've got this. Now remember, don't lose track of what you're doing here because we have two different variables. Okay, this is where some people get confused. Just because we got two variables, we're just trying to solve for f. Okay, so pretend like this said 90 or something over here. Okay, how do we go about solving for f? Well, we get rid of the negative 160 over here by adding 160 to both sides. And these cancel, and we have 5f. Now normally, if this was 90, we could take 90 plus 160, but we know because of like terms that I can't add 9c's and 160 together. So I just have to write 9c plus 160 over here. Okay? Now the last thing I have to do to get f by itself is get rid of the 5 times f, which means I have to divide by 5. And I have to divide this whole side by 5. Okay, well 5 and 5 cancel. Sorry, not across here. Don't let this part confuse you. That was my iPad dragging. This does not cancel out. This is still here. Okay, but these two cancel right here, leaving us with just f. And then I've got 9c plus 160 all over 5. Now remember when we talked about simplifying things? Okay? Sorry, this isn't going to move for me, I guess. Remember when we talked about simplifying things? Okay, this 5 would have to be able to go into 9 and into 160 because it's separated by this plus sign. Well, 5 goes into 160, but it doesn't go into 9, so we can't simplify this anymore. Okay, so the only thing that I can do is, because again, Mr. Ayers likes things this organized this way, I've got my equation written in terms of f now, and it's 9 times Celsius plus 160 divided by 5. Okay? Alright, so now, there we go. Now we can move on to another example. Okay, so part A of this example says to solve the interest formula, I equals PRT for R. So, again, we're taking I equals PRT, and we're trying to solve for the R. So the R is what I want to get by itself. Okay? Well, all I'm doing here is multiplying. Okay, I'm taking P times R times T. Well, it means I'm multiplying. I have to get rid of multiplying by dividing. So I'm going to divide on both sides. But here's the trick. Okay? I'm taking R and I'm multiplying it by P and T. So that means I can divide it by P and T at the same time. Why can I do that? Well, let's think about this. P divided by P, that cancels out. And T divided by T, that cancels out. I can do that because these things are separated by multiplying signs. Now remember, if this said adding, we couldn't do that. We couldn't simplify like this if it was adding or subtracting. But because it's multiplying, we can go ahead and simplify like this. So I'm dividing by P times T. So those things canceled, left me with just R equals I divided by P times T. And again, when we write it, R equals I divided by P times T. So the rate equals the interest divided by the principal times the time. So there's part A. This up here, this is kind of a tricky concept, so again, if you don't understand the concept of multiplying versus if there's addition signs in here and why we can simplify, make sure you ask. Okay, otherwise let's go to part B. Now I'm finding the interest rate, so I'm trying to figure out what R is. That's the whole purpose of rewriting these formulas. For an investment of $1,500 that earned 54 simple interest in 1 year. Okay, so I'm trying to find my rate. Okay, my I is the simple interest I earned, so the 54 simple interest, that goes on top. Then I've got an investment of $1,500 times my time. My time was just 1 year though. Okay, so since my time is 1 year, I don't need to put times 1 on the bottom, but I'm going to because we're still learning this. Well, R equals 54. And then 1,500 times 1 is 1,500. Okay? Now we need to simplify this. You can tell this one might be kind of frustrating a little bit. Well, let's attempt it anyway. I at least know that 2 goes into the top and the bottom. 54 divided by here. Let's actually go ahead and rewrite this here. I know 2 goes into the top and the bottom. So we get 27. And 1,500 divided by 2 is 750. Okay, well, 3 goes into both of those. So now I could divide the top and the bottom by 3. And I know that 27 divided by 3 is 9. And 750 divided by 3 is 250. Well, the only thing that goes into that goes into 9 is 3, and that doesn't go into 250. So I'm done. My rate is 9 over 250. Now the only thing I'll say is that rate, when we think of rate, it's always written as a percentage. Okay? So we should probably write this as a percent. So we're going to have to make it into a decimal. So we would take 9 divided by 250. And for the sake of time, you're never going to get to do this, but because I want to cut your video short, Mr. is going to use a calculator here. So 9 divided by 250 is 0.036 as a decimal. Okay? Well, now we should probably write that as a percentage. So 0.36 as a percentage is 3.6%. Okay? Rates should always be written as percentages. So it's 3.6%. Alright, let's go on to one last example. Okay, this one says, rewrite the equation 3x plus y equals 4 so that it is a function of x. Then use the result to find y when x equals those 4 numbers. Okay, so we want to rewrite the equation so that y is a function of x. What y is a function of x means is we want y equals. So we want y by itself. Okay? That's what y is a function of x means. So we're going to write the equation as it looks. They made this pretty easy for us, actually. We've almost got y by itself already. The only thing we have to do is we're adding 3x to it. Okay, so how do we get rid of adding 3x? We have to do a negative 3x to both sides. Because 3x minus 3x cancels, leaving me with y. 4 minus 3x. Okay, 4 and x's are not like terms, so I just have to write it like this. Okay? And because Mr. Ayers is going to be picky about this, we're going to go ahead and change the subtraction to addition. And you should always do that. Okay? Change your subtraction to addition. So here's my equation so that y is a function of x. Then what we would do is we would come over here and fill in our input-output table. Okay? You need to do that in your notes. I'm going to skip it for the video so I can cut it off and get it under 15 minutes. But you take your y equals 4 plus negative 3x function and fill it out with the input-output table. So for when I check your notes. Alright? Good luck on your homework.